Guys, like she said, I'm Brooke. I'm excited to be talking to you guys about 10 steps to navigating career transitions. And then, yes, I want to leave about 10 minutes at the end of our time just for questions. So we're going to be trucking along. It's going to be about 45 minutes. And again, utilize the chat, talk, engage, network. And yeah, so let me share my screen and we'll get started. Oops. Okay, guys, can you see my screen? Alrighty, 10 steps to making a career transition with me, Brooke McCord. Alrighty, so actually let me move. Do you guys know how to move like the participants down? It's taking up my entire screen.
Brooke, if you just click the top part of that and you can just like drag it down to the bottom of your screen.
Thank you guys.
Or if you click the small, you can click like a small box instead. And so you can just see one video instead of 5.
I don't know. Got it. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Technical difficulties already. Sorry. But yeah, so we are Ama La Vida. And as Jill mentioned, we are here to help you love your life. That is literally what Ama La Vida means. Maybe it's a little bit cheesy, but it's what we truly believe. That's what we're here to do, is we want to help you live your life. Really in whatever way, whatever capacity that means for you. But today we are actually going to be talking specifically about helping you love your life in your career and how to figure that out, and then how to actually make that transition. Oops. There we go. So a little bit about me. I'm Brooke. I am a career and life coach here at Ama La Vida. Although I was not always a coach. I actually started off as a healthcare consultant. I was never really passionate about business or business school, but that was my major because it was the safe major. It was the traditional one that was going to bring job security and things like that. And so I fell into a job at healthcare consulting and I could not stand what I did. I started off as an analyst, and there were 2 tracks at this company. And so I worked really hard to go over to that consulting track. And even there, I hated it. I hated my job. But I thought that if I worked up from associate to an experienced associate to a senior consultant, like getting the more responsibilities, getting that project management, that every step I would like my job more. And to be honest, I just never did. You know, I worked there for about 4 years and I can count the number of days on one hand how many times I actually enjoyed my job. And I just knew that there had to be more out there. There had to be more than just this waking up, dreading going to work, counting down the minutes until I get to leave. And already by the time I leave, I'm drained, right? Because I just didn't enjoy it at all. And so about at that 3rd year mark, I started to do a lot of thinking. I did a lot of reading. I did strength finders. I did What Color Is Your Parachute? I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with those things, but I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta do something that is meaningful. And to be honest, those books didn't help. It just really reaffirmed that I'm not in the right place, but I don't know where I want to go. And so I actually had to work with a coach to help me figure out a lot about what I need, what are my values. We worked through a lot of limiting beliefs that I'd held since childhood, of that classic, you have to have a traditional job in order to be successful. That was a big one for me. And so then after that, I was like, wow, I'm able to move forward. I'm able to grow. I'm able to change. That's what I want to do. I want to help people move forward and be better and change, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's what I want to do. So I actually got certified. I went through a program, I got certified, and then I actually went back to a very similar job. I ended up being a contracted healthcare consultant. And you guys, it was so much worse than it was before. Like I'm having a ton of anxiety, I'm developing panic attacks. It was just not a good situation at all. It did show me though how easy it is to go back to something that's comfortable, no matter how you hate it, right? Because that comfort, even if it's painful, the comfort kind of outweighs the pain of the job. And so I was like, wait, I cannot do this again. I got certified. So I actually then sought after a group of coaches, and that's where I found Ama La Vida. And that's what leads me here talking to you guys. My ideal clients, a lot of people that I work with are people who have been in their job. Maybe it's their first one out of school, maybe it's their fifth one, and they just have never had meaning in their life and they're ready to just figure out, what do I want to do? Who am I? What's going to help like make me tick? What's going to make me feel like what I do matters? And so I love that, such a pain point for me, and I love that that's who I get to serve now. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, our agenda today is we're going to talk about how we got here, the transition process. We're going to go through the 10 steps. We'll talk about a couple areas where you might get stuck and then where we can help. And again, the last 10 minutes or so is going to be Q&A. All righty. So how did we get here? So there are a couple really common reasons as to why we're in this place where we really do need a career transition. So if you guys don't see your list, like your reason, feel free to add it into the chat. So some reasons for why you're in a job that isn't fulfilling, that doesn't align with you, could be outside influence. I know for me, it was for my family, it's like how I was raised. I was just, have a realistic job, Brooke. Maybe you're already on the path, like you're already kind of halfway up that ladder, and it doesn't make sense to hop onto another ladder to be at the bottom, right? Although I do always say it's better to be at the bottom of a ladder that you actually want to climb than be at the middle of the ladder that you have no business or interest in climbing. Maybe you're ready for a career change because you have a terrible boss. Maybe the culture just isn't right for you. Maybe there's just a wrong fit. So if none of these reasons are sticking out to you, feel free to add it into the chat. I'd love to see what you guys have as well. Okay, and then our career transition process. So really you can break this down into about 4 different parts. So part 1, we have uncovering your hidden self. Who are you? What is your actual foundation that we are going to be building everything on top of, right? And then part 2 is going to be finding that perfect job, narrowing down the jobs that actually align with who you are, which is what we discover in part 1. And then once we know who you are, what job aligns with who you are, then we talk about how to actually get that job, right? And then once you get that job, how to be successful on that job from day 1. And so we're going to be breaking down the steps that go within each of those 4 aspects. Okay, so step 1, passions and gifts. So we're talking about what jobs are going to engage your passions and which ones are going to utilize your gifts. So kind of like what's written here, passions are what makes you come alive. What do you genuinely enjoy? What brings you energy? What energizes you? Where do you like lose track of time? Where do you just get lost, And then gifts are what comes naturally to you. What do you get complimented on? What are your strengths? So if I was a new hire at your company, where would they say, Brooke, you really need to go to Gabby for this because Gabby is an expert in this, And so passions and gifts. And now passions and gifts are not always the same. So I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm pretty good at math. I like math. It's always come really easily to me. So hello, gift. But I find it to be kind of boring. Personally, it does not energize me. Looking at spreadsheets and analyzing data and that kind of stuff, it drains me, so that's where the gifts and the passions don't necessarily align. I really enjoy yoga. It lights me up. I just have such a good time doing it. But I'm pretty terrible at yoga. And I'm not just one of those people who says I'm bad at yoga. I'm legit bad at yoga. So just because something is a passion doesn't mean it's a gift. And just because something is a gift doesn't mean it's a passion. But you need to explore both of those individually to see what really lines up with who you are. Okay. And then step 2 is going to be uncovering your hidden self in terms of your values and your purpose. So values are, what words would you want someone to use to describe you? They are also pillars. Values are pillars, right? These are some non-negotiable things that you need to have in your next job. And sometimes we don't really know what a value is until that value is violated. So, like, I did not know that respect was a value of mine professionally until I was disrespected at work. And now I know that that is something that I will need to have. It's a non negotiable for me in my next job. And then there's the purpose. And now the purpose can seem like such a lofty word. Like, but we don't mean it lofty. What we're talking about here is not why are you here on this planet, but it's what is the impact that you want to make in your next career. So these 4 steps create that hidden self. So it's the gifts, the passions, the values, and the purpose. Okay, step 3 is going to be finding your perfect job and doing this by exploring and understanding what your options are. So you start by making a laundry list. So keeping an open mind, right? Asking other people who know you for a list of potential options and getting input from them, right? Like, so coming up with your own list and then asking others who know you. And then you begin to narrow it down. And so you use that by stacking it up against your passions, your gifts, your values, and your purpose, right? So you've already done a ton of work to figure out what they are. Now you need to make sure that the jobs that you're narrowing down align with those pieces. And then after that, you need to understand the role. What does it require? What are the responsibilities? What is the day-to-day like? And then the requirements. What training is required? Do you need to go back to school? Do you need to get a certificate? Are you actually totally good and like you have all of the requirements? Those things are really great to know before beginning to apply, right? Before finalizing that list so you know what you're going for. Okay, and then step 4 is just really finalizing that optimal path. So what's important to you? And it's finalizing those like little details to make sure that it is totally in line with you. And so it's all about like, what does your commute look like? Or is there remote work available? And after COVID, you realize like being remote is actually really important to you. What does advancement and growth look like? Will I get to travel? Can I wear sweatpants? I've really grown accustomed to sweatpants this past year. I need to make sure that I'm able to wear that moving forward. Is it monotonous or do I get variety? What are the learning opportunities? Will I have stability? I need a certain salary, so these are all like the final things that you need to make sure are aligning with your needs and your non-negotiables. Okay. So we're about to get into landing your perfect job, but I wanted just to stop and ask, does anybody have any questions relating to your gifts, your passions, your value, your purpose, or narrowing down the jobs? Any questions yet? Okay, let's see here. Okay, Shanti, you have a question about purpose? Go ahead and chat it, write it down in the chat. Oh, Mary, you were to triage too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In San Francisco.
Awesome. What a small world. I love it.
And I think we were there around the same years too.
Oh, that's so
Which is
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
You guys, such a small world. I love it. Okay, Shanti asked, on past jobs, it's been my purpose to just do my best work. Is there an example of a higher purpose? That's a great question. So purpose, we are talking about the impact that you want to make, right? So that doesn't sound like the impact that you want to bring to the table. So I'm just going to answer it in terms of what my purpose is for me. So we know that I am a life and a career transition coach. But my purpose is to help people move forward in a way that's meaningful for them, and doing that through deep questioning and accountability and challenging the way people think. So essentially, my purpose is I want to help people move forward, meeting them where they are and moving them forward in a way that's meaningful to them. So that's talking about the impact that I want to make. Awesome. I know purpose can be it's difficult. It's a difficult concept to grasp. But yeah, we're just talking about like why does it matter? What's important to you? How do you want to contribute to whatever job or company or people, that you'll be interacting with?
Hey, Brooke, we have a great
Mhm.
question from Shanti. Hi, Shanti. I can't see your face, but I'm so excited to see you here. Okay, so I guess that you kind of answered her question, but I think it's still good for people who might not have seen this to hear. So on past jobs, it has been my purpose to just do my best work. Is there an example of a higher purpose?
Jill, I just answered that one.
Oh, you did? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Emily, and then you said you have a question about exploring your options. Go ahead and ask it, and then this will be the last question before we move on to landing your perfect job. Just wait for her to type it out. Okay, how do you get a laundry list that's broad enough and includes things that you wouldn't have thought of? Maybe your friends and family have the same limiting beliefs. They have a similar jobs, etc. So that's actually like a really great reason to get a coach. Because coaches are different from friends and family, where coaches are honest. Like they're not just gonna like agree with things that you've already like talked about. They come in with like a very objective way of thinking. They're gonna challenge your limiting beliefs. If you like, for me, again, my big one was I have to have a traditional business job in order to be successful. Well, what's even your definition for success? What does success look like to you? Is that actually true that traditional job equals success? So having an unbiased party is super helpful. But also talking to people who like aren't just in your family or just in this particular group of friends, but getting like a myriad of different answers, different responses, is going to be really helpful for you. And also, as they are giving you their advice, do a check-in with yourself, right? Like, does this actually seem true for me? Does this actually line up with things that I know that I need? The passions that I actually have, the things that I'm good at, does it really align? Or is this just something that they said and it's actually not true for me? So always make sure that you're challenging like what you're being told in your own mind, if that makes sense. Awesome. And then Eddie, you're right. Much later in life, your purpose in your job, it changes. Your purpose can change over time, you guys. Your passions can change, your values can change. But what we are looking at is just a snapshot for right now. So we know what job is coming next, what is going to best serve you and align with you in your next role. Awesome. Okay. So let's hop into revamping your resume and landing that job. So, yep, step 5, revamping the resume. So, essentially, you guys, your resume, think of it as a large business card. You have limited real estate. And then at the end of the day, the resume is not going to be the piece that gets you a job. Your resume is intended to get you that interview. And so you just want to make sure that like your resume, it flows, that it's easy to read. Because like this first bullet, right? Like you have 6 seconds to impress that hiring manager. And before like revamping the resume, you need to really reflect on your personal brand and what you want to portray, right? Like, what is the story you want to tell? What do you want the hiring manager to know about you? What are the most important things? You know, doing this work before even putting pen to paper to revamp your resume. And so it's not just a summary of your experience, it goes a step or two beyond that, where your resume is talking about why you are the perfect person for that job. And so you want to start with a job description and you want to work backwards. And then you want to use the language that the employers are using and understand. So, I mean, when you look through a job description, they literally are giving you language to use and pull out in your resume. So use it, you know. If they talk about collaboration 5 or 6 times in that job posting, you better make sure if you've collaborated, you put it in your skills, you talk about it in your professional summary, it's somewhere in your bullets. So just making sure that you are taking like the job description and making sure it's applying directly to your resume, right? Because you want to tailor each job to the individual, I'm sorry, you want to tailor each resume to the individual job that you are going to be applying to. Awesome. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. Nope, that's it. Okay. So then there are 3 different types of formats. Always make sure that you are being specific to your industry. Now, chronological is the most widely used format, and it really does work to highlight promotions within a company as well. Functional, you want to use this sparingly. So functional is more like if you have video production, like a lot of video production work, and you also have a lot of marketing work, but you want to make sure you highlight each of those individually. That's what functional kind of looks like. And you want to use this sparingly. If you use functional, there needs to be a purpose to it. And then the combination is showcasing a specific skill set for that individual job in a chronological way as well. Okay. And now when we're talking about bullets, there's a formula for the resume, like bullet content. So you always want to start with the action verb, and you want it to be the strongest action verb that's there. Like what is the first thing that you're going to want them to read in each bullet, right? And then you want to be as specific as possible and use quantifiables if you have them as well. And then every bullet point should be able to complete the statement in order to. So I did X, Y, and Z in order to do this, this, and this. And so you want your bullets to be as meaningful as possible. You want to tell a story. And also when it comes to bullet points, you don't want to waste any space. Each bullet point needs to matter. So if I'm a data analyst, my bullets should not say, I analyze data. That is like a waste of space, right? So making sure that each bullet Like it brings something, it talks about your story, it tells your hiring manager what you can do and the benefit that you bring to the company, right? And this really is the place to toot your own horn. I know like sometimes bragging just isn't like not a lot of people like to do it, but this is the place to do it. Because if you do not tell them, they do not know, right? So making sure that the resume content, the bullets are strong. And that, again, pull in that job description as well. What are they looking for? And how can you make sure that your bullets like are answering the question of like, why are you good for this role? Why are you a good fit? Awesome. Okay, wait, I see a couple of questions. Let's see. Okay, so how do you approach your resume revamp when you're applying for roles that are not in a field where you've worked for 15 plus years? So I would say make sure that you bring in those roles that you have. That might be where you want to use a functional resume, where you highlight that you do have this experience. If you have certificates in whatever industry that you're going for, making sure that you're including it. If you've been totally in a totally different industry and you're coming back, what transferable skills do you have? How do they transfer to like the job that you're going for, right? And so making sure that you are pulling out what they're asking for and answering it in your resume, if that makes sense. Okay, and so next question is, how do you tell a story with one sentence bullet points? We hear it, but it's hardly ever explained. No one is going to read a resume over 2 pages. Thanks. Also, great resume, unless you have years and years and years of relevant experience that talks about different aspects of what you've done, a resume should be 1 page. A resume should be 1 page and it should be highly skimmable. And you want to talk about why you're the best candidate for this role. So, Joan, did that answer your question? We're also going to be talking in a slide or two about your professional summary. That should be on everyone's resume as well. It's no longer a business objective that talks about why you are the person for this role, but a professional summary is now, this is who I am, and this is why I think we would align. This is what I bring to the table, you know? Okay, fantastic. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, so let's keep on trucking along. Or I guess, does anybody else, we'll have 10 minutes, but does anybody else have a quick question regarding your resumes that I can answer right now? And also, you guys, it does not hurt to ask other people to review your resume. You know, like in the chat, share your LinkedIn. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn right now. Share your email, like have a buddy where, hey, I'll review your resume and you review mine. This is the job that I'm going for. You know, get help. Utilize this network that you have right now, right? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Let's go to LinkedIn. So step 6 of landing your perfect job is refreshing your LinkedIn profile and your digital presence. Sorry. So this is where recruiters are. 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. They are actively utilizing it. And you can actually indicate that you're job searching on your profile. And you can make it private so that your current employer doesn't see that as well. And that's in your settings. But you guys, LinkedIn is really important, but most people are not utilizing it. Most people have created one, but really they haven't done anything to it, but it is one of your most valuable research tools. It's going to be one of the easiest networking tools that you have. And it also is going to let you, like, recruiters know, hey, like, this is who I am, this is my profile, and I also take it seriously. Yeah. And again, you can indicate in your settings to let recruiters know that you are open to work. Okay, your headline. It no longer needs just to be your job title and the job that you're going for, or I'm sorry, the job title and like the title of your company. You want it to be engaging. You want to utilize keywords, and you want it to be action oriented. Because as people like scroll through their newsfeed, this is the stuff that comes up here. So that's going to be what people see. And so you can tell that forums is action oriented. You know, she's disrupting the coaching industry. You know, that's powerful language, right? Nicole hers is showing like her job title and like what she does. You know, she's not just the CEO, but she's a keynote speaker and investor. You get an idea of what she does, how she spends her time. You know, for me, my headline is helping unsure people become sure and confident in who they're in who they are. And so right there, you know what you're getting. You know what I do is helping unsure people become sure, because that says a lot more than just career transition coach, right? So headline, relevant, keywords, action oriented, because it's going to be the first thing that people see. Okay, and your LinkedIn summary. So this is your story. It can showcase your personality. You want to use keywords as well. Have contact information, and your experience. And then also something I really do like is this things that I'm known for as well, because it quickly lets people know these are the skills that I have. And I do know that at the bottom of LinkedIn, you know, at the bottom of your page, that your skills are there as well. I say put them here in addition to that. But yeah, and I say show your personality, tell your story. What do you want someone to know about you? What do you want hiring managers to know about you? And I say it should be 2 to 4 paragraphs, 2 to 4 sentences each. You know, make it highly skimmable, easy to read, and engaging. Okay, I think someone is not on mute. So if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Awesome. Okay, and then extra credit are recommendations. You can ask previous managers, people you've worked with, for recommendations. And when you do that, offer to write them a recommendation too. Write articles, post publications, reshare things, comment on what people post as well, and just commit to doing something once a week, you know, but that consistent engagement is going to let recruiters know, hey, I'm active, I'm here, I'm participating. Yep, you know where to find me, essentially. Okay. Okay, and then step 7 is to apply and to network. So we all have heard of application tracking systems. So just some things to know is that they exist. You want to know how they work. And at the end of the day, you still need to be reaching human beings. So if you are applying to a lot of jobs and you're hearing absolutely nothing back, you want to make sure that your resume and everything that you're submitting is ATS friendly, right? And so just because you submit a resume, like that's not where the process ends. Like it's where it begins. So continuing to check in, reaching out to a hiring manager if you don't hear anything within 2 weeks of submitting an application, right? You want to make sure that you're getting your resume in front of somebody who can read it. Alrighty, and then networking like a pro. So do not be shy. Utilize LinkedIn. You want to follow up. And at the end of the day, if you reach out to somebody and to connect and they don't respond, that's the worst of it, then you just move on with your life. And now before COVID, you used to be able to go to conferences and like physically and literally shake hands with people. And the pandemic has changed it, but you guys, like, there are online conferences going on everywhere for every industry. Those things are happening. So making sure that, like, if you want a networking event, type it into Google, marketing event for Chicago locals, like what's going on there. Google it, check it out. Also being an active participant in those conferences or meetups or anything like that. Like right now, like I am highly encouraging everybody to put in their LinkedIn URL, to put in your email, like connect with people who are in the job search, utilize the people that are around you. Okay. Any thoughts, questions, anything at all? Okay. Let's see. Awesome. Thank you for putting in your LinkedIn, Joan. Everybody connect with her. Awesome. Thank you. Oop. Okay, perfect. So now we are going into the interview process. So there are a couple types of different question types. So it's the intro question. So tell me about yourself, right? Why do you want to work for this company? And then there are going to be behavioral questions, which is what the STAR method is intended to answer. And so you can tell it's a behavioral question by that. Tell me about a time when ... Like that's how you're going to know it's it's a STAR related question. And so you want to break these questions down into the 4 parts, which is situation, the task, the action, and the result, right? Oftentimes people forget about the result, but that's going to be one of the most important pieces. A company is going to want to know how you benefit your previous companies, right? And so I'm actually going to read an example of a STAR related response. Okay, so we have the situation, which is describing the event, the task, which is the task that you did that you had to complete. The action is the specific action that you took to complete the task. And the result is the results of your efforts, right? Okay, so a question could be, tell me about a time when you've overcome diversity. So a response would be the situation, so the context. So my direct report sent out a report to our client that was incomplete and full of errors. The internal client lead is angry and wants the direct report to be moved off of the account. Okay, that's the situation. The task is what needs to be done. So as a people manager, it was important for me to meet with my employee to share feedback and understand what went wrong to ensure that it didn't happen again. It was also important to build rapport with the internal client lead since my direct report needed to stay on that account. That was the task. And now the action is, what do you do, right? So since he was responsible for an area that he was not comfortable with and needed more support, I implemented a new QA process and an additional review session between him and his lead to ensure that no errors would be in place prior to the work being delivered to the client. I also met with the internal client lead to hear their concerns. So it was the action that took place. And then the result is what was the impact. So since the new process was implemented, the direct report has sent his report with 100% accuracy, and the internal client lead is satisfied with the output and even shared that she was happy that he was on her team. So that's an example of how to answer a STAR-related behavioral question. Okay. And now rule of threes is an example of this question would be, what are your greatest strengths? Or this role is very competitive. Why are you the best person for this job, right? And so it's the rule of threes is used for open-ended questions to help you stay structured and to not ramble on and on. Because sometimes when we're nervous in an interview setting, it's very easy to ramble on and on. But the way this goes is the most important point is first, second most important is second, third most important is third. So, what are your greatest strengths? It would be first most important, and then a little blurb, like a sentence or two. And then the second sentence or two, third sentence or two. So making sure that you are structured, but you elaborate a little bit as well. Okay. Alrighty, negotiations. So negotiations are a ton of fun. Most people do not utilize, they don't negotiate. Negotiation can be scary, it can be overwhelming, and I just don't want to do it. But it is proven that 13.3% actually earn more, it's earned annually more if you negotiate, and that 84% of people who actually do negotiate are successful. And so making sure that you do your research and then you anchor high, because then they'll come low and then you gotta meet in the middle. But doing your research, right? Do you have specific certificates or a diverse background that other people don't have that's going to be beneficial to the company? What are other people what are the competitors paying their people? What is the cost of living? And I also want to let you guys know that negotiations is not salary alone. It's benefits, it's remote work, it's 401k match, it's PTO. So if they're unwilling to budge on salary, there are other things, that can make that are meaningful to you. So do your research, know your non-negotiables, and anchor high, right? Okay, and then let's see here. So step 10, wow. Day 1 and beyond. So yes, congratulations, you guys, you went through all the steps, you landed your dream job, right? But that is not the end of the work. It's actually the beginning, because you want to do really well. You want to succeed. You want to really have a strong career management and making sure you have a trajectory for where you want to go. So with a lot of my clients, we actually plan our first 90 days together, making sure that you're having consistent check-ins, that you are scheduling one-on-ones, that you're having meetings with people that you need to, that you're managing conflicts, that you're communicating needs and making sure that those needs are getting met. In those one-on-ones with your boss, are you asking important questions, communication style, work style, what does success look like, things of that nature, things that a lot of people don't think to ask in their first one-on-ones with people. Expectations, aligning on your expectations. We're going to outline goals. And also don't forget to network internally. Networking is not just external, but it's internal as well. So just build connections, get the coffee with people. Just making sure that you are growing in a way that you want to grow day one and moving forward. Okay. So, some places where you might get stuck. Identifying passions. You guys, identifying passions can be really difficult. A lot of my clients struggle with this because they hate their job and nothing lights them up, right? Like they're not energized by anything. So coming up with something is super painful, right? I think someone is not on mute. So if you could mute, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so identifying passions, huge pitfall. That also coming up with a purpose, really difficult sometimes. So you might get stuck in those two places. Coming up with different job ideas. Like for me, it was really hard to come up with job ideas. Like I'm reading books, but all I can think about are other business things, because that's what my brain was trained on, but so coming up with different job ideas, different job potentials, maybe something that's outside the box, but really does align with who you are and what you want. Committing to one idea, not getting so scattered, like maybe I could do this, but I could also do this, coming up with a plan, one idea, a trajectory, right? Getting the interview, crafting a compelling story. And to be honest, just staying motivated, staying in the job hunt, continuing to apply, continuing to write the cover letters. Sometimes cover letters just really suck and they're hard, but you got to keep on writing them. So just making sure that you're staying motivated as well. And so really, like we just went through 10 steps, right? What led you here? 10 steps where you might have a pitfall, so I just really encourage you guys, what are you going to commit to? Is it really digging in and discovering what am I passionate about? What's lacking in my job? Or I'm going to commit to applying to 3 jobs every week. Or maybe it's I don't know where to start and I feel lost and overwhelmed and there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Like I need help. So I'm going to get a coach. I need a coach, like recognizing that I need help. So what are you going to commit to moving forward to landing that job that's really going to align with who you are and is going to fill up your cup so you're just not totally drained like I was, in my healthcare consulting role. So just spend some time thinking through that. Okay, and again, how can we help? We get to walk you through each step of this process. It's one of my favorite things of helping someone who had no idea what they wanted to do. They didn't know anything other than they were just unhappy, to having them figure out what they actually want to do and making moves to it and like getting interviews and landing jobs. Like it's awesome that I get to help walk my clients through that. And so if this is something that you need, please, please, please feel free to reach out. Like you are not alone in it and we get to help you through it. Sometimes it's a lot better when you're not alone and you get to like kind of walk alongside somebody during this scary process. And you guys get in touch. Here is my email. You can become a member. You can become a coaching client. We meet 2 or 4 times a month. And then if you're like, yes, like I do, I want to do coaching. You can schedule a consult with one of our specialists where they're going to talk to you. They're going to see what you need in a coach and they're going to match you to someone who actually like lines up with who you are and what you need and your coaching style. And yeah, so that website is there if you need it. Alrighty, and I think that's it. And alrighty, so there we go. That's our presentation. So I tried to answer some questions throughout it, but what questions do we have now? Okay, Shanti. So this is a more of a tactile question. So what are some best practices for storing all of these resumes, cover letters, given the need to tailor the application to each job? Alrighty. It's going to be different for each individual person. I am somebody who really utilizes that finder on my Mac of where I house all of my documents. And so break it down by folder. Or you can have a running spreadsheet. Like what is the job? What do I need to highlight? What are the due dates? Did I apply? Did I not apply? Have I sent a follow-up email? Have I not sent a follow-up email? So really it's just going to be what is going to be useful for you to stay organized because it's important. Did that answer your question? Okay, good. Because one monster folder is very overwhelming. Maybe you can handle it, but I couldn't handle it. All righty. Anyone else? Passions, gifts, resume, interviews, negotiations. Any thoughts, questions, or concerns, or did I just do such a good job explaining it the first time that absolutely no questions?
Hey, Brooke, I'm not sure if you got the one question from Sharon. Did you touch on the negotiation with temp agency?
Okay. Oh, wait, I see it. If you're interviewing for a temp
Yeah.
job through a temp agency, is there much room or availability for negotiations? To be honest, I don't have an answer for that, but it never hurts to negotiate. I'll just say that. Like, the worst that they're going to say is no. And you say, okay. And then what your bottom line is. If it's below what you like your base, you won't go below it. Then maybe you have to go somewhere else, But so know what your non-negotiables are before walking into a negotiation as well. Awesome. Anything else? Okay, that's it. So you guys, if you have any thoughts, questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I know that Jill is going to be sending out an email with other resources, the recording. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Connect with me. I am Brooke McCord. It's pretty easy to find.
We'll share out that in the recap. Don't
We'll
worry.
share it all. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, awesome. And then we'll keep the chat up for another minute or two. So just make sure that you are adding in your LinkedIn, connect with other people. Guys, utilize this as a networking opportunity as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brooke. And thank you everyone so much for showing up today, for your great questions, for engaging, for staying with us, being present. We really do appreciate that. Again, we'll send a recap email out tomorrow. They'll have the recording and some additional resources that we mentioned today. And so if you do have any other questions that are lingering, or maybe after all of this information is processed and digested, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. Those are humans behind the emails. So feel free to reply back to our emails and we'll get to you for that. So thank you all again so much. Thank you, Brooke. I know this was a really awesome jam-packed session full of good stuff. So again, any other questions, just let us know. Oh, and members, ALV members, you can also just use the Slack channel to direct message Brooke, me, or any of our other coaches. You have access to all of us. So, and then Chad, last question. Can you recommend a website to help us narrow down our interests, passions to a start list? Ooh, we do have a module exactly for that. But Brooke, I don't know. Do you have any other resources that could?
I mean, never underestimate the good old fashioned Google search. To be honest, I don't have a website off the top of my head, but I would just Google.
We can also dig around too. We'll dig around, Chad, for some other resources. Because I know, yes, we do have a module that goes exactly through
Pretty
that step by
deep
step.
into
But
it.
I'm sure we have some other resources that are external that we'd be able to share. So I'll make sure to take a look at that, and I can add that to the resources in the recap email too.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, 16 personalities from Joan. Okay. We'll look into that. We'll give you guys the resources. Don't worry. We'll never leave you hanging. We promise. We'll find something for you. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you all. We are at time. Thank you again, Brooke. And we hope to see you guys around at some other webinars sometime soon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Have a great one, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.